Welcome to The Bottom Line with John Harrison, your tour guide through all things financial. Build out your financial skill set with crucial knowledge and tactics and easy-to-follow answers to all your essential money questions. And now, your host, certified financial planner, ordained minister, multi-published author, and president of Aspire Financial Advisors, John Harrison.
Hello, and welcome to The Bottom Line. I'm John F. Harrison, your host, and in today's episode, we've got a twofer for you. I'm going to begin with a look at the world of cars, and in particular, what's happening with car prices and whether or not now is a good time to buy, and what it looks like going forward. And then we're going to move to a separate but related topic in the latter part of the show as we look at what's going on with the economy as a whole, how cars might affect that, and how all of it might affect you. Speaking of cars, let me start with a fun fact that's kind of non-financial. Do you notice as you drive that cars look a lot less colorful than they used to? Like everything is black, white, or gray? Well, if you've been thinking that, you're actually not wrong. They've done some research and they looked at 61 million cars that are on the road in terms of the registrations. And they found that 25.8% were white, 22% were black, 18.4% were gray, and 12.1% were silver. That means that 78% of all cars on the road are one of these four colors: black, white, gray, or silver. So cars have become a little boring to look at. The good news is they are becoming cheaper to buy. I will break that down for you right after we come back from this short break. You're going to want to hear about the numbers in just a minute. So hang on and we'll see you on the other side.
People say I've got a great smile. Well, I have to say, this is all thanks to the professional team at Beacon Dental Group right here in Dorchester, Massachusetts. I've got world-class dental care. Beacon Dental Group has expert and caring staff dedicated to providing the most advanced and satisfactory treatment in all aspects of oral health. Their services are designed to meet your needs and give you a perfect smile, too. General checkups, cosmetic surgery, Gemini laser service, and advanced procedures, all in a state-of-the-art facility. Call or visit Beacon Dental Group today, 1026 Blue Hill Avenue, Dorchester, Massachusetts, or call 617-282-2146 for a smile that lights the world.
Welcome back, and we are talking about cars and car prices, so I want to dive right in, or maybe I should say drive right in. But either way, we'll see what's going on in the world of car prices. Car prices are still high, objectively speaking, but they are beginning to come down. According to Edmunds, which is sort of an authority in the world of cars and car prices, the price of the average new car in June was just over $48,000, 48,808 to be precise. That's down a little bit from the prior month. Now that's still objectively a lot of money, but it's headed in the right direction, and we have a reason to think that the fall in prices is just starting. It's going to get bigger and more significant. One thing we can say, the age of the objectively cheap car, new car, is over. Only 8% of new cars being made now price out under $30K. Remember, the average is 48. Only 8% price out under $30K, and 0.3% of all new cars have a sticker price below $20K. So within the next year, it's likely there will not be any such thing as a $20,000 new car. They just simply won't exist. Right now, they are 0.3% of all new cars. And used cars aren't a whole lot cheaper. The average used car in June was $27,147. For a used car, that's not an especially small number. And compare it, just for the sake of relativity, compare it to where that price was pre-pandemic. Prior to March of 2020, the average used car was $19,000 and change, $19,827 to be precise. So we've gone on a used car from $19,800 pre-pandemic to $27,000 and change now. That's just in the course of 3 years. So that's a significant price rise. Cars are expensive, but again, the prices are falling. And you know what? They're falling fastest among electric vehicles. EVs, those battery electric vehicles, are the ones whose prices are tanking quick. Ford recently slashed the price of its electric F-150 Lightning pickup truck by 17%. That's a pretty nice chunk of change. For the F-150, which was not a cheap truck to start with, that 17% price drop amounts to around $10,000. So that's not bad. Brings the starting price down to a still not cheap $49,995. But if you're in the market for that, you'll take a 17% price hike compared to before. And it's not just Ford. Tesla, which already has a 60% share of the EV market in this country, meaning 6 out of 10 battery-operated vehicles being sold today are Teslas. So, they got the lion's share of the market, but they are also cutting prices and doing so sharply, even as they ramp up production. The price of all EVs, electric vehicles from all manufacturers across all makes, declined 20% from June 2022 to June 2023. So that's good news if you are in the market for an EV. And I think that the EVs are just the leading edge. Gas-powered vehicles, which of course are the lion's share of the market. EVs are about 7% of all car sales. But it's growing. It's growing rapidly. And right now, it's a money loser for car manufacturers. They are selling EVs at a loss because they've invested literally billions of dollars in infrastructure to start manufacturing these. It's going to be a while before they're profitable for the manufacturers. So they're making up the difference by the profits they make in the sales of their gas-powered vehicles. And that seems to me maybe just a little ironic. Everyone's telling you EVs are the future. EVs are the way you need to go. You're saving the planet. You can feel good about yourself if you drive one of these. But the manufacturers who are pushing them so hard and want to be all electric in many cases by 2035 are still losing money on them and will be for a while. And they're making it up with the sale of their gas-powered cars. So I just find that kind of interesting. But while prices are falling, inventories are still increasing. They're backing up. And that portends more falling prices. In other words, it's starting to become a cycle. The dealers, new car dealers, have a 92-day supply of EVs on average sitting on their lots. That's as opposed to a 51-day supply of gas-powered vehicles. So the dealers, never mind the price cuts from the manufacturer, dealers are going to be more and more incentivized to cut prices because the inventory is piling up. And a dealer's job is to reduce his inventory, turn those cars into cash, not increase the value of his inventory by having more and more cars sitting on the lots. So the higher supply suggests that lower prices are coming even in addition to manufacturer discounts because the dealers will have incentives to cut prices. Remember, on the topic of EVs, you will often hear the statistic that their sales are surging, and they have surged 50% in the first half of this year. But at that level, they are still just 7% of all car sales. So that is something that I see as good news. Car prices are going to start coming down. Again, gas prices, gas cars are also coming down, not as much as EVs yet. This may change due to the risk of recession. Now, what clues do we have? We're going to talk about that in the second segment, but I'll give you a little bit of a preview now. Auto loan delinquencies are now higher than they were in the Great Recession of 2008. Also, some ground level, grassroots indications that people are having some difficulties. Here we're not talking about Federal Reserve statistics, we're not talking about interest rates, we're not talking about all the classic leading economic indicators. We're talking about stuff at ground level where you can see how the average person is doing. One of the things you can do with tools like Google Analytics is find out what search terms are trending. When somebody goes to their google.com to run an internet search, Google Analytics tracks what people are searching for and how much that changed from the prior week and prior month, prior quarter, so on and so forth. One of the trending search terms right now, and by trending I mean up more than 20%, is the phrase pawn shops near me. Pawn shops near me. More and more people are searching for that. Now, I don't know why they're searching, but it suggests that people are getting tight enough with their finances, desperate enough with their finances, that they are now considering pawning their personal possessions. That's not a good sign when it comes to how confident people are and how much money people have. So that's a little something that we can keep an eye on. In any case, car prices. Cars were selling for way over sticker during the pandemic. The average car payment monthly is now $725. That's a big car payment, and that's the average monthly car payment today. That's for a new one. For a used, it's $516 with a 6.6% and climbing interest rate on new loans, the average term of which is 5 years and 7 months. Higher delinquencies will mean more repos, and we are seeing that happen. We'll talk about more of that in part 2, but more repos will mean more inventory. We'll break it all down after we stop and pay a couple of our own bills and let you know what this means for when you should think about buying a car. So hang on and join us on the other side right after this.
Do you want to make a bold statement? Do you want to stand out in the room? Check in with us before you step out. On-demand designs and timeless statement pieces are here to channel your impeccable style from this season to the next. You can have it all, so go get it and be confident when you do. Jewels on Demand, inspiring elegance and confidence.
Welcome back. We're still talking about cars and car prices and what it means if you need to buy one or should you need to buy one. We know if you were looking for a car at all during the pandemic, you know the prices got crazy high. You know that many cars were selling for over sticker, and we're not just talking exotic cars, we're not just talking high-powered sports cars. It's not just the Challengers and the Chargers and the high-output sport. Typical cars, Hondas, were selling for well above sticker because supplies were so low. Well, during the pandemic, supplies were so low because they were having supply chain problems at the car manufacturers. They couldn't get the computer chips. They couldn't get this or that part. So cars went only partially built and dealers were running out of inventory, and they did what dealers do. They took advantage of the situation and marked up the cars above sticker. And if you didn't want to pay above sticker for many cars, you weren't going to get a car. And the banks went along with this, and it was surprising, because a car loan is a collateralized loan. If you don't make your payments, they repossess the car. However, just because you paid $1,000 more than sticker for this car doesn't make the actual cash value of that car suddenly $1,000 higher. When the supply chain kinks get worked out, you and the bank will be upside down in the car. So the whole pandemic price hike thing was a little crazy, and I suggested then that if you didn't have to buy a car, not to. Wait a bit, keep what you got, fix it, wait for the prices to level out. In fact, if you've been following this channel, this broadcast for any length of time, you know that my best advice when it comes to cars is, one, don't buy new, and two, don't finance. You don't want to pay interest on an asset that depreciates, and new ones depreciate horribly. So buy something a little older, a year or two, something that's coming off lease at the end of 2 or 3 years, and pay cash for it. If you can't pay cash for a car that new, then back up down the calendar until you get to an age range that you can. That will save you the most money in the long run. But the fact is, as a country, we're addicted to new cars. That's what most people are going to do, financial advice aside. So we're talking about what's happening with the prices of new cars. Well, the supply chain issues got worked out for the most part, and so inventories are decreasing, and now cars are not selling over sticker. In fact, for the first time since the pandemic, on average, they're selling just a little bit less than sticker. And this is true of used cars as well. Wholesale used car prices have been falling for 3 straight months. The wholesale prices are what used car dealers pay to buy the used cars they're going to sell you. So they go to auctions and they pay wholesale prices at auction for the cars and then mark them up and sell them to you. Well, the wholesale prices have been falling for 3 consecutive months. That's going to impact used car prices going forward. They haven't fallen much yet, but I suspect that they will. So what does all this mean for the economy as a whole? Cars, after all, are a pretty big chunk of the economy. In fact, many economists look at how the car manufacturers are doing and how car sales and car buyers are doing as kind of a proxy for the economy as a whole, because next to what you pay for your home, most people pay more for cars over the years than they do for anything else. It's a fairly large chunk. Their car loans are typically their second highest expense after their mortgage. So it's a big enough chunk of the economy that we can look at it and make some predictions about the economy as a whole. It's a benchmark. So what does the automotive benchmark suggest about the economy? Well, number one, loan originations are falling. That means fewer new cars are being bought. Fewer used cars are being bought. Why can we say this? Well, banks are tightening their credit standards because banks are being squeezed by higher interest rates. Now, you may say, how does the higher interest rate hurt the bank? Well, banks typically invest their money into fixed interest debt, bonds. When interest rates rise, the price of their bond portfolio goes down. That puts all sorts of pressures on the bank. I won't take the time to go into that now so we don't get too sidetracked from the cars, but understand that their reaction to this is to tighten lending standards. You got to have a higher FICO score than you used to, let's say during the beginning of the pandemic. You need to have a higher down payment than you used to back in the early days of the pandemic. So with interest rates higher, the car payments are getting more expensive, the banks are getting pickier, fewer people are qualifying for loans, so loan originations are down. That's a slowdown in economic activity, and it's a slowdown in economic activity in a major part of the U.S. economy. So that suggests that it's a pointer toward potential recession. Repos are up sharply for the second straight year. They've risen 11% year over year. Now, people don't get their cars repossessed until they are at least 60 days behind in their payments. You miss the first payment, you start getting a lot of phone calls from the lender. You start getting letters, you start getting late fees. At 60 days, they start thinking, we want the car back. And so repos are up 11%. And interestingly enough, wholesalers who go to auctions to buy used cars are reporting that the used car auction lots are full of repossessions, row after row after row. I've seen some video of this actually, and some of the auction lots segregate them by bank. So that row is Wells Fargo repos, and that row is Citibank repos, and so on and so forth. Some of the banks are reporting that they are renting vacant lots because they don't have enough space at their own facilities to store all the cars they have repossessed. So both banks and towing companies are reporting that they have storage issues with repossessions. Now think about it. For many people, a repo is a sign of real economic desperation. Why? Because if the car being repossessed is their daily driver, they need to get to work. If they are employed, how are they going to do that without their car? Their entire life becomes more difficult without their car. So most people will go to great lengths to avoid having the car repossessed. Now that may not be the case if it's a third car, if it's a toy, if during the pandemic people were flush with government stimulus cash and college loans were frozen so they weren't making those payments. Maybe they went out and bought a toy. They bought themselves a Charger or a Challenger or a Corvette, and it was just for fun and it was a third car. All right, now if they get in economic trouble, they might let that car go back to the lender and not lose a lot of sleep, although it's going to really punish their credit rating, which will hurt them in other ways. But the person, particularly the working class person or the poorer person who loses a primary car to repossession, is really hurting. And now they're trying to get to work on the bus, if there's a bus line, or they're trying to take Ubers, and that's going to add up in pricing. So the fact that repos are up 11% year over year overall, and even more than that among subprime borrowers who had less good credit, less money, they're defaulting more often. They're the people for whom the car is probably not a third car. It's probably their daily driver. And so this repo is a sign that things are maybe going a little south in the economy. I mentioned the searches for pawn shops near me. Now, people argue, are we in a recession now? Some people say yes, some people say no. Is a recession coming? Some people say yes, some people say no. Those who say no say it for a couple of reasons. One, unemployment is still low, and the classic sign, almost the classic definition of recession is not just a slowdown in economic activity, a slowdown in business activity, but an increase in unemployment. We're not seeing that. They also say that AI is going to save us, that the whole new world that it introduces is going to prevent a recession. And some say that there's plenty of people who still have money from COVID benefits still saved up. No one knows the future, but recession or no, your marching orders are still the same. What you need to accomplish financially is still the same whether we get a recession or not. So don't lose sight of the forest for the trees. We'll tell you what you should be doing, whatever is coming, right after we take this last break. See you on the other side.
The Wells Jamaican Restaurant, located at 55 Mazio Drive in Randolph, Mass., where good food and fellowship meet daily. Check out our variety of fresh and tasty entrees and sides from our menu or the website, thewellja.com, like our jerk chicken, oxtails and rice, seafood, desserts, and more. With our drinks and juices made fresh daily, you have the option to dine in or take out. We can also cater your special event, or you can book our private dining room and let us host your special event. At the Well Jamaican Restaurant, we pride ourselves on providing superior quality food and beverages, and of course, great customer service. Next time you're in the mood for Jamaican cuisine, meet us at the Well Jamaican Restaurant. Become part of the family. Connect with us on Facebook and Instagram. The Well, where good food and fellowship meet daily.
All right, let's see if we can't sum up. A couple of things we get out of all the statistics from today. Number one, if you are in the market for a car, whether new or whether used, my suggestion is if you're not desperately in need, then don't buy it now, because prices have just started down and all indicators point to the fact that they're going to go down further. So if you can make your current car last until first quarter 2024, you will probably pay less for its replacement than you will pay if you buy it today. That's item number one. Wait a little bit, let the prices come down a little further. Number two, the recession issue. Nobody knows the future. We don't know if a recession is coming or not. Some people are arguing whether or not we're in one or not. But whatever the case, your marching orders really don't change. If you think a recession is coming, then you need to do more of the standard things. Save a little more, spend a little less, keep right on investing, because we don't know what the markets are going to do day to day. We can't time them, even if there is a recession. So do what you've always done, be informed, but don't be worried. Last but not least, I'll say if you have questions, reach out to us. Happy to talk about any and all of this stuff. My phone number is on the screen at the office, 978-775-5435. If you're more of an email type, you can always email me at john.harrison@aspirefa.com. Happy to walk you through the logic of any of this or any other financial topic that's on your mind. As you know, there's a blizzard of financial information out there. It can be a little overwhelming, but the bottom line is you are wherever you are financially, and you have goals. You have someplace you'd like to be. And I want you to know that you can get from where you are to where you'd like to be. You just need a little direction for the journey. And that's the bottom line.
Welcome to The Bottom Line with John Harrison, your tour guide through all things financial. Build out your financial skill set with crucial knowledge and tactics and easy-to-follow answers to all your essential money questions. And now, your host, certified financial planner, ordained minister, multi-published author, and president of Aspire Financial Advisors, John Harrison.
Hello, and welcome to the bottom.